Why would one of Paris's most image-controlled fashion houses, a brand whose DNA was so meticulously shaped by Hedi Slimane, hand over its runway to someone entirely new? And what does it say about where luxury is heading when a house like Celine decides it's time for a reset? Because that's what just happened with Michael Ryder's highly anticipated Spring 2026 ready-to-wear debut for Celine. And trust me, it wasn't just a show. It was a strategic psychological recalibration for the brand, and today we're going to unpack exactly why. This is GTWJ, where fashion thinks deeper. Follow us on Instagram at GTWJMag for sharp industry analysis, fashion psychology, and cultural commentary you won't get anywhere else. Let's dive in. First, context. Celine under Hedi Slimane has been synonymous with razor-sharp tailoring, monochrome palettes, and a hyper-curated, almost obsessive control over brand image. His Celine wasn't just about clothes, it was about a mood, a rock star cool, a perpetual night in Paris aesthetic. So when LVMH appointed Michael Ryder to step into this legacy, the stakes were sky high. Ryder wasn't just inheriting a brand, he was inheriting an attitude. And what we witnessed in his Spring 2026 debut was a carefully calculated shift. The biggest takeaway? This wasn't a rebellion against Slimane's legacy, it was a reframing. Ryder didn't tear the house down, he subtly opened a window. Fashion, like psychology, is a system of signs. And what Ryder presented wasn't about abandoning Celine's codes, but about loosening them. There was a deliberate softness in the storytelling part, a willingness to let tension exist rather than suppress it. In an industry currently obsessed with authenticity, or at least the appearance of it, this kind of nuance is rare. Industry reactions have already picked up on this. Critics noted how the collection balanced familiarity with unpredictability. Ryder leaned into Celine's established house language, but stripped away some of its defensiveness. The cuts, the palette, the attitude, still present, but there's a new emotional register underneath. Psychologically, this matters, because luxury consumers in 2025 aren't chasing perfection anymore. The era of hyper-curated, flawless branding is giving way to controlled looseness. Ryder's Celine seems to understand that modern status isn't about appearing untouchable. It's about being seen as selectively accessible, about revealing just enough to feel real without ever losing control. And this was a smart move on LVMH's part. After years of Celine existing in a tightly wound aesthetic bubble, this debut hinted at a broader emotional range. Not a radical pivot, but a calculated adjustment, which, in fashion psychology, is one of the most effective ways to refresh a brand without alienating its core audience. What this means for Celine is significant. Michael Ryder's debut signals that the brand is entering a new phase of its identity, one where the codes of minimalism and cool aren't discarded, but reinterpreted. It also reflects a larger industry trend, the softening of hard luxury. Across the board, we're seeing heritage houses begin to explore tension, contradiction, and emotional depth in ways that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. And that's why this show mattered, not because of any shock factor, but because of its restraint. In a digital culture where spectacle is cheap, controlled quietness has become a new form of power. Ryder tapped into that, and in doing so, positioned Celine to remain culturally relevant in a landscape increasingly skeptical of one-dimensional luxury. So where does Celine go from here? That's what makes this exciting. This wasn't a collection that gave away all its secrets. It was a runway show designed to hint, to suggest, to open doors rather than deliver declarations. And that's clever, because in 2026, mystery sells. Follow us on Instagram at GWJMag for more deep dives like this, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Ryder's debut a respectful evolution, or the start of a quiet revolution at Celine? This is GTWJ, where fashion thinks deeper. Let's go deeper into the Spring 2026 ready-to-wear, honing in on themes, mood, and psychological impact, all rooted in what Michael Ryder actually showed. This collection wasn't about radical reinvention, it was about refinement and integration. Ryder looked across Celine's lineage, Phoebe Philo's Quietluxury, Hedi Slimane's sharp edge, and even echoes of Michael Kors's polished power, and wove them into something culturally attuned. It's a strategic alchemy, not a loud departure. One, preppy energy with continental restraint. Expect oversized rugby shirts, tailored sweaters draped across shoulders, nods to polo-inspired athletic elegance, but always polished. It's collegiate Americana seen through a Parisian lens. Preppy attitude without overstatement. Psychological insight, this softens Celine's previous armor-like rigidity. It's approachable mastery, confidence that doesn't need to shout, in the current luxury climate that is magnetic. Up to blazers and coats with sculptural precision. A parade of coats, camel, black, scarlet, green, each tailored with pinched waists and bold shoulder shapes. The silhouettes are architectural yet relaxed, layered for depth and adaptability. Meaning, Ryder leans into wearer ability while preserving aspirational polish. Emotionally, it hints at garments that live on, clothing that accumulates stories without feeling outdated. Number 3, accessories as storytelling tools. Scarves played a central role, tied in necks, knotted on shoulders, even framing the runway space. Logo use felt purposeful on belts, knitwear, sneakers and bags, celebrated yet tasteful. Psychological insight, branding used sparingly triggers a sense of belonging without visual fatigue. Scarves, fleeting yet potent, create immediate emotional signals, sophistication with personality. 4, evening wear, familiar luxury, subtle intrigue. Evening pieces were understated, classic narrow trousers, sleek gowns, sequin moments in muted tones, nothing flashy, just elegance in disguise. Impact, it's a quiet confidence trick. The clothes are powerful because they let the wearer feel powerful, not overwhelmed. 5, a playful co-ed structure. Presented as a gender-neutral runway, pieces blurred the divides. Skinny jeans, blazers, rugby shirts, scarves flowed across both menswear and women's wear. Why it matters? It plugs into the zeitgeist. Modern luxury isn't defined by labels. It's about fluidity, self-definition, and emotional inclusivity. The emotional architecture of Ryder's debut, tension and ease, structured tailoring and relaxed layering create a visual push-pull that mirrors modern identities, disciplined yet authentic. Memory and novelty. The collection taps nostalgia. Philo's chic archives, Slime's rock silhouette, causes polished preppy, then reinterprets them for today. Longevity over novelty. Ryder's emphasis, clothing that lives on, speaks to a psychological hunger for permanence in fast fashion fatigue. Final psychological takeaway. Ryder's debut isn't about spectacle, it's about strategic warmth. It invites us in, not commands. That matters now. In a world overloaded with noise, quiet mastery is the new prestige. This is where Celine can thrive, through a blend of cultural memory, intelligent nuance, and emotional resonance. It's not rewriting the brand, it's deepening it. And in doing so, Ryder has positioned Celine as a house that doesn't just dress the body, but speaks to the psyche. That's the deeper brilliance of Michael Ryder's Spring 2026 CELINE debut. It wasn't trying to make headlines through provocation or spectacle. It understood that true cultural power in fashion today isn't about dominating the conversation for 24 hours. It's about planting ideas that quietly reshape the way people think about desirability, elegance, and identity over time. This collection acted as a psychological soft reset for Celine. It retained enough of the house's existing language to feel loyal, but infused it with new energy, collegiate ease, softened tailoring, subtle irreverence, and an emotional texture that Slime's era often intentionally resisted. Ryder made Celine feel less untouchable, but no less elite. And in doing so, he aligned the brand perfectly with where luxury is moving in 2026, toward clothing and styling that feels intimate, familiar, and personal, while still carrying the discreet codes of status and exclusivity. This wasn't a loud arrival, it was a quiet power move, and those are the ones that last. If you want more breakdowns like this, runway psychology, and what today's fashion moments really mean for the culture, follow us on Instagram at GTWJMag. This is where fashion thinks deeper.